Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is another in-depth weather discussion here for August 27th, 2021. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy and Nate, and we are going to be discussing Tropical Storm Ida as it continues to move further and further into the Gulf of Mexico and how it is forecasted to become a major hurricane upon landfall. So all sorts of new information here for you guys. If you are new to the channel, please be sure to leave a like so that I can get this video onto more and more people's recommended feed on YouTube. It's all about spreading the word here, and seems how this situation is becoming more and more intense, more and more significant as this gets closer and closer towards the United States. Things can flip on a dime. Information can flip on a dime. So we're going to need to try and be proactive. We're going to want to try and get the information out as best as possible. Also, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with that information so that you do not miss a single thing. Of course, for the best information, please go to your local weather forecasting offices and the National Hurricane Center, as they will have live updates as to how strong these storms actually will be, as well as their official forecasts into how this system will progress. Looking at the wide view satellite, we have a couple things here that I do want to make a note of before we go into Ida. We have two areas to watch here, one in the middle of the Atlantic, another one here in the main development region, which for those of you who don't know is basically this area here from the Lesser Antilles all the way over towards Africa. And so that giant swirl of thunderstorm activity in both of those areas actually are designated Invest. So we have Invest 97L, which is up there. We have Invest 98L down there. I'm anticipating Invest 98L here to form relatively soon. And that would possibly be Tropical Storm Julian if it does end up intensifying into a tropical storm. The one up there in the central portions of the Atlantic, I don't exactly anticipate it to form anytime soon, although it probably could here, so I'd watch out for that as well. These storms are expected to stay relatively far off the coast, so that's not expected to be a threat to land. However, the area that we will be talking about here, if we zoom in, is Tropical Storm Ida, and Ida has been a significant threat for quite some time now. And as a matter of fact, just for reference, last night when we were live streaming on our program, starting at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we had it, we were tracking it, and the National Hurricane Center said that it was a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. In that time frame of about 12 hours, it is now a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm with a minimum low pressure of 996 millibars moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. So this thing has intensified quite quickly for a storm of this caliber. Tropical systems this week are not exactly supposed to be getting this much organization. And this goes to show you that there is a lot of unstable energy, a lot of moisture feeding into this system. You can see the general swirl with most of the showers and thunderstorms trying to wrap around with it. You can also see here on the surface imagery, you can see most of those clouds actually being sucked into the southeastern side of the storm. You can also see the outflow from the system. You can see how you have this anticyclonic outflow with the cirrus clouds spreading out from the center. That's more or less the ventilation of the system. When your energy gets exhausted and you don't know where to put it, it puts it outwards. And so that's a good sign for this tropical system as to it intensifying more and more. But definitely a concerning situation here, especially for places near Cuba, near even the Cayman Islands as it has passed through it. Torrential rainfall is expected, and almost hurricane force wind gusts are possible across portions of Cuba. And then as this continues to progress further and further into the Gulf of Mexico, then it'll be going some very unstable conditions, and it'll be allowed to rapidly intensify. Taking a look at the water vapor imagery, yesterday we were talking about this giant trough that was basically hampering this tropical system with a lot of wind shear, but this trough has now indeed weakened, and so the wind shear is not as significant as it once was. So this has allowed for this system to intensify quite quickly and quite rapidly for the time being. And yeah, as I said, you can see the trough right here from the satellite imagery. You can see how the winds are following this general pattern here of where my arrow was drawn. There was a bit of dry air. It's now over towards the southwestern side of the storm. not exactly anticipated to make a huge dent into the system's progress, and I'm actually anticipating that it won't at this point because there's just so much moisture here. There's so many of these not yellows, these whites and these bright grays practically everywhere. There's just a lot of moisture here, so not anticipating that to be a huge threat. Now, the aircraft reconnaissance mission here, they have sent the Hurricane Hunters, specifically the Air Force over here. They have two separate divisions. They have NOAA, which sends their version of the Hurricane Hunters, and then they have the Air Force that sends their stuff out. And NOAA is a little bit behind. They're still over near Florida, but the Air Force, however, have been very proactive, and you can see here with their track through Ida that they have done a lot of good work here. As a matter of fact, in their recent pass through the center of the system, they have found hurricane force winds over here. So this is a very concerning situation if this thing continues to intensify at the rate that it does. And maybe a foreshadowing more or less as to what we could potentially see over the Gulf of Mexico, which is very concerning in my honest opinion, because if it does rapidly intensify within a very short period of time, it might even be stronger than what myself or the National Hurricane Center is actually forecasting this to potentially be. Now, taking a look at the cone of uncertainty here, and I'm actually going to open the image in a new tab so that you guys can see it a little bit better. You can see right here that the cone of uncertainty takes it to a possible landfall sometime on Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening, more or less into the overnight hours of Sunday into Monday. And you guys can see the progression of this. Tropical storm as the black dot with the S in the middle, hurricane being the black dot with the H in the middle, and then you have the M right in the middle right there, the black dot with the M in the middle. That stands for major hurricane, category 3 or above, and they are forecasting this to be a category 3 upon landfall. So hurricane watches have been in effect throughout much of the area. They're anticipating that to be increased to hurricane warnings once the system gets closer and closer. They have already issued mandatory evacuations, or at least they're going to be issuing mandatory evacuations at 10:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time for Grand Isle, Louisiana. And so this is definitely a concerning situation if they're already issuing evacuations ahead of time for the system, because the conditions for this could be relatively significant. So why are they forecasting this to become a major hurricane? Why are they forecasting this to rapidly intensify? Well, if we take a look here at the conditions out in front of it, I was mentioning how the waters of the Gulf of Mexico are very unstable. And you can see that there's a lot of these reds and oranges across the board here, indicating 29, 30, 31, even 32 degrees Celsius sea surface temperatures, which is about 90 degrees and above. And anytime it's within that time frame, or not the time frame, within that radius of those warm sea surface temperatures, that tells you that there is a good chance that it could rapidly intensify within a short period of time. And we do have that. We have those conditions here out in front of Ida. So it will most likely rapidly intensify within its distance and its travel to the central portions of the Gulf of Mexico. And if we take a look at the tropical cyclone heat potential map here in the Gulf of Mexico, you can see that this general area right about here has a lot of these reds and oranges, even whites in some spots, and that indicates that there is a lot of heat potential right within there, a lot of built up energy to make it very unstable and make it very favorable for rapid intensification. So if we go back to that forecast cone of uncertainty, this takes it right over that general area to where there is that unstable warm moist air and that unstable very hot sea surface temperatures. So definitely something to watch out for as this continues to move about. Now let's take a look at the GFS cyclonic vorticity. That's what it is in shaded. So the more reds and oranges you see, the more well-defined a circulation actually is to becoming a tropical system. Of course, you also have wind barbs that tell you what the winds are here at 500 millibars, which is a good, probably, I'd say 3,000 to 5,000 feet above the sky, maybe up to 6,000 feet above the sky is about where that actually is. And so if we take a look at how this continues to progress and moves over into Cuba, you can see that originally it moves in this general direction. So why is it not hitting over here into Mississippi? Well, the big reason here is because you have this upper level ridge that is really creating a lot of wind shear and forcing this to move a bit further towards the west. And so once Ida does get caught by that wind shear, it's going to start shifting in that general direction and basically almost paralleling the coast until it makes landfall. So definitely something to watch out for, how far south this high pressure system actually goes and how significant that steering flow from this ridge is as this continues to propagate towards the north and west. And of course, as this makes landfall, this is actually forecasting it to make landfall somewhere in between Morgan City and Grand Isle, Louisiana. So definitely something that we need to watch out for as this continues to move on through. And it's expecting it to make landfall, according to this run from the GFS, sometime Monday evening, and maybe even Monday afternoon, depending upon how far east it makes landfall as well. So impacts with this system are going to be pretty significant for the most part. This is the total rainfall rate here from this system, and you can see a lot of these reds, and these reds do indicate that we have some very high amounts of rain, 10 to 15 inches of rainfall in total within this area here of eastern Louisiana, specifically over New Orleans. And we have a little pink dot right in the middle of that. That indicates 15 to 20 inches of total rainfall. That's over a foot of rain within your area. So New Orleans could potentially be seeing about a foot of rain within their general vicinity, maybe even at or around a foot of rain, which will be very concerning, specifically because they have had above average rainfall for the season in total. So the ground is very saturated over there. It's going to allow for trees to be toppled over, to topple over into houses, power lines, RVs, all sorts of stuff like that. And this will definitely create some huge aerial flooding, potential huge flood risk here from this system. So that's definitely something to watch out for as this continues to progress. And then, of course, if we take a look at these storm surge impacts here from this system, from Sabine Pass all the way over to Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge is possible with that. Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge over to Morgan City, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. So Vermilion Bay is expected around that much. Morgan City all the way through over towards Ocean Springs, Mississippi. That includes Biloxi, Mississippi within this. 7 to 11 total feet of storm surge. That is a lot. That is significant. So if you live within these areas, I highly recommend that you guys get away from the coast. I highly recommend that you get away from the coast. There most likely will be mandatory evacuations for people who live within these areas. I highly recommend getting away from the coast and seek shelter further inland, because this is a very concerning situation. And then one other thing as well is that if you guys who live near Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Mauropolis, you guys think that if you guys think that you guys are out of the clear more or less, you guys are also anticipated to get some strong storm surge. 4 to 6 feet of total storm surge is possible within your area. And then, of course, as you go further and further east, Ocean Springs to the Mississippi-Alabama border, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. And then all the way over towards the border of Florida, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge is anticipated. So stay safe, all. Very strong impacts expected from the system as this continues to progress. Very strong storm, nevertheless, with this as well, because there is a huge chance that this potentially could become a major hurricane, a Category 3 hurricane. If you had to ask what I think this will end up going as, I think it'll be a little bit stronger Category 3, maybe even a Category 4 hurricane. 125 to 130 miles per hour is my honest to God guess. But if you want the best information, please pay attention to your local weather forecasting offices and the National Hurricane Center, as they will be providing latest up-to-date information as well as evacuations and warnings. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the latest information, as well as share this with friends and family and on social media so we can spread the word as much as possible. That would be greatly appreciated. That's going to be it for me. Stay safe, everyone, and thank you for watching.